Hello students, welcome to KENE'S Educare. Today in the session of class 6th history, we will do part 2 of chapter 7, Ashoka the emperor who gave up war. So we will start with part 2 of this chapter. And in this part we will read and learn about what was Ashoka's Dhamma, what was Ashoka's messages to his subjects. We will read a story of elsewhere as we do in every chapter. We will see some keywords, some important dates. Then we will recall the chapter with the help of some exercises. And then we will see a story of looking ahead as well. Okay? Alright, now we will talk about Ashoka's Dhamma. What was Ashoka's Dhamma? Acha. This Dhamma is correlated as, or also known as Dharma, religion. Okay? After giving up on war, Ashoka leaned himself towards good virtues and started teaching his subjects good virtues of life, so that people can also know that what are relevant virtues in life one should live with. Okay, please mark this, that he did not introduce any religion where people need to worship a god. He did not do that. He did not incarnated any new god. He did not do that कि ये नए भगवान है, आज से सब लोग इनकी पूजा करेंगे. ऐसा नहीं कहा उसने. Ashoka's Dhamma did not involve worship of a god or performance of a sacrifice. उसने ऐसी पुरानी कोई practice को importance नहीं दी. He just felt that just as a father tries to teach his children, he had a duty to instruct his subjects. Now what is subject? Subject are those people who are ruled or taken care by any authority. Okay, so Ashoka was the ruler and all the other people who were under his rule were his subjects. So as a father tries to teach good virtues to his children, similarly Ashoka thought that I am also father of this kingdom, and all the subjects under me whom I rule, they also should know that what are the virtues which will help us to grow in life. Okay, what are the virtues which will help to grow in life? Which are the virtues which will help to enlighten ourselves about life, right? All these aspects made Ashoka wonder that he should do something as introducing a new Dhamma. He was also inspired by the teachings of Buddha, Gautam Buddha, okay, whose real name was Siddhartha. He was also inspired by the teachings of Buddha. There were a number of problems that troubled him. उसे बहुत सारे confusion. There were a lot of doubts about life in Ashoka's mind. People in the empire followed different religion, and this sometimes led to conflict. Even in our country, people follow different religion. You know that there are Muslims, there are Hindus, there are Christians, there are Parsis, there are Buddhists, there are Jains, and everyone is there who follow different religion. And as our country also faced problems because of this sometimes, similarly Ashoka's kingdom also faced problem because he gave freedom to people. He gave freedom to religion. He never forced anyone to follow one single religion. Okay, he never did that. He let all the people follow their favorite religion, and that is why people followed a different religion, and this sometimes led to conflict. Animals were sacrificed. Slaves and servants were ill-treated. You know the culture of ancient history that animals were mostly sacrificed by the kings to become more powerful or to add valor and glory to their history of the reign. And slaves and servants were ill-treated all the time. I told you that Das and Dasis were told to do each and every job. They had to do any job as told by the king or instructed or ordered by the king. So he saw that he had various troubles. People follow different religion and thus it led to conflict. People sacrifice the animal to become powerful. People ill-treat the slaves and servants. Besides, there were quarrels in families and amongst neighbors also. परिवार में लोग लड़ने लग जाते हैं. Neighbors में भी बहुत लड़ाइयाँ होती रहती हैं. All these things troubled him, and hence Ashoka felt that it was his duty to solve these problems. So He appointed officials known as the Dhamma Mahamatta, or you can say Dharma Mahatma, who went from place to place teaching people about Dhamma. ये जो officials अशोक ने अपॉइंट करे थे, these officials were instructed to go from place to place and teach people about the Dhamma, teach people about the good virtues of life, teach people how to live peacefully without conflicts and quarrels. Besides, Ashoka got his messages inscribed on rocks and pillars, instructing his officials to read his message to those who could not read it themselves. Okay, so people were there who were not literate, right? Even today in our modern world, in our country, people are there who are not literate. Okay, they are illiterate people in our country also. Similarly, in the reign of Ashoka, various people were there who could not read and write. And for those people who could not read and write, Ashoka inscribed the messages on the rocks and pillars and asked his officials to read aloud. चिल्ला चिल्ला के आप बोलिए ताकि लोगों को पता चल पाए. जिन लोगों को पढ़ना लिखना नहीं आता है, आप उन्हें पढ़ के सुनाइए. Okay? He even did this so that his Dhamma can solve the problem of quarrel and all the disunity or anything which defaults the peace of the kingdom. To spread his message of Dhamma about the virtues of life and about the truth of life, Ashoka also sent messengers to spread ideas about Dhamma to other lands such as Syria, Egypt, Greece, Sri Lanka. Okay, please don't be confused. Ashoka was not any philosopher or any thinker. Okay, he was just a king who gave up on the war, but he was a very magnificent king because he was very resourceful about his kingdom. He was very caring about the people who he ruled. He worked on every aspect of the kingdom. He gave freedom to people. He gave all the liberty to people to think in their own way. And then he let other people know about the virtues of life which would help them grow and live peacefully and in unity. Okay, he was not any philosopher like Buddha. In fact, he was the person who believed in the teachings of Buddha. Okay, he was very inspired by the teachings of Buddha, and hence he, you can say, propagated his message of Dhamma. We will find these countries, Syria, Egypt, Greece and Sri Lanka on the map. Here is Syria, Iran, Egypt and Saudi Arabia. Okay, this is Greece in the European continent. So you can say if this is India, and as you move towards this western portion, you get Iran, Saudi Arabia, Syria, Egypt. Egypt is in Africa. Okay, and in the European part, very near to Turkey, you get Greece. Okay, Turkey, then there's a sea, and then Greece. Okay, these are the countries where he sent his messengers to spread the idea about Dhamma. This shows that Ashoka had international relations also. Correct? क्योंकि अगर आप अपने मैसेंजर्स कहीं भेज सकते हैं, मतलब आपके इंटरनेशनल रिलेशंस अच्छे हैं उस कंट्री में, तभी तो आप अपने लोग भेज रहे हैं बड़े आसानी से. एंड देन यू आर asking them to spread your teachings also. That means Ashoka had good international relations in these countries. Ashoka also built roads, dug wells and built rest houses. Okay, आपको लग रहा होगा ये तो बड़ी बेसिक चीज है, सड़क तो हर किंग बनाता है, वेल बनाता है, रेस्ट हाउसेस बनाता है. This was not common back in the period of 3rd century BCE. Please think in the form of 3rd century BCE. Alright, this was not an easy task. They had very limited resources, limited people to work on, limited time, limited idea about the futuristic ideas, and hence doing all these works, giving roads to people, digging wells for water supply and building rest houses for the people to live. It was a very tedious task to do back in that century. Besides, he arranged for medical treatment for both human beings and animals. Can you see the kind nature? He not only thought about the people, the human beings living inside his kingdom, He also thought about the animals. Because वो ये कहता था कि अगर हम इंडिया को रूल करते हैं and we rule over the people, we also rule over the animals, right? So if we are taking care of the people, we have to take care of the animals also, because they are also a part of the society. They are also a part of us, right? They are also a part of the life cycle, and we have to take care of them as well. And I also told you earlier that do not do animal cruelty, do not hurt any animal directly, okay? People have eating habits, like they eat non-veg. That's a very different part. That's a part of lifestyle. But if we talk about cruelty, you should never focus on cruelty. ये नहीं कोई भी एनिमल जा रहा है तो उसको मार रहे हैं बेवजह, ऐसी कोई चीज नहीं करनी चाहिए. Alright, now we will read Ashoka's message to his subjects. We saw that Ashoka sent messengers to other countries to spread his message of Dhamma. He also propagated his message throughout the country by carving them on inscription. He instructed people to carve the inscription and read aloud for those people who cannot read and write. So now what was his message? अभी तक हम धम्म प्रोपोगेट हो रहा है, हमें ये पता है, बट उस मैसेज में था क्या? We will read about that. So people perform a variety of rituals when they fall ill. अशोक कहते हैं people perform a variety of rituals when they fall ill, when their children get married, when children are born, or when they go on a journey. हम लोग कब कब ritual करते हैं? अगर हम बीमार हो जाते हैं, we pray to God that please may this person get well very soon, may this person get relief from the pain very soon. So we generally do the rituals when someone is ill. We generally do the rituals when someone gets married, or when someone is born, or when we go on a journey, that may God make his journey safe and all that, right? We do all the rituals whenever all these events happen. But these rituals are not useful. अशोक कहते हैं कि ये rituals करने का क्या फायदा? If instead people observe other practices, this would be more fruitful. Instead of doing rituals on some ceremonic events, you should focus on other activities, on other practices that will be more fruitful towards the humanity. Okay? What are these practices now he talked about? Okay, what are these practices? These are being gentle with slaves and servants, respecting one's elders, treating all creatures with compassion, giving gifts to Brahmins and monks. It is both wrong to praise one's own religion or criticize the another. Each one should respect the other's religion. If one praises one's own religion while criticizing another's, one is actually doing greater harm to the one's own religion. Therefore, one should try to understand the main ideas of another religion and respect it. These are the words of Ashoka. These are the words of Ashoka's Dhamma. And please understand the intention behind it. I told you कि वो worried था that people practicing different religion fight. They have conflicts. People do not treat their slaves well. They ill-treat their slaves. And that is why he asked people to observe other practices. He said कि आप slaves के साथ gentle रहिए, आप servants के साथ gentle रहिए. You should respect your elders. मान लो that you do all the rituals, you do the yajnas and you do all the sacrifices, and then you come back home and then ill-treat your servant. Then what will be the purpose of doing the ritual? God will still be unhappy from you, right? You treat the illiterate people wrongly, you make fun of them. You should not do this, right? You should be gentle with slaves and servants. You should respect your elders. You should treat all creatures with compassion, not only human beings, but all the creatures, including animals, right? Giving gifts to Brahmins, you should give gifts to Brahmins and monks so that they can propagate the idea of religion. They can tell you the importance of religion in one's life, right? And enlighten people one after the another. So you should gift the Brahmins and monks instead of giving gifts to the king. He also said that it is wrong कि आप सिर्फ अपने रिलीजन की तारीफ करते जाएं और दूसरे रिलीजन की बुराई करें. कि हमारा रिलीजन तो बहुत अच्छा है, वो रिलीजन बहुत बुरा है. दिस इज नॉट करेक्ट. You should either praise all the religion or you can praise your religion without criticizing the other's religion. आप अपने रिलीजन की तारीफ करिए बट दूसरे की क्रिटिसाइज मत करिए. ओके, यू शुड रिस्पेक्ट अदर्स रिलीजन. आपको दूसरे के रिलीजन की रिस्पेक्ट करनी चाहिए. इन फैक्ट अशोक सेड दैट कि आप अगर अपने रिलीजन की तारीफ करते हैं, यू प्रेज योर ओन रिलीजन, देन यू क्रिटिसाइज अनदर्स रिलीजन, then you are doing more harm to your religion. क्योंकि आपका religion ये नहीं सिखाता that you should criticize anyone, right? But still, if you criticize others' religion while praising your religion, then you are doing more damage to your religion. And therefore, each one should respect the other's religion. We should try to understand the main idea of another's religion and respect it. You should always focus on the idea फोकस्ड बाय अनदर्स रिलीजन. दूसरे रिलीजन का एम्फेसिस क्या है, किस पर है, उनका मेन आइडिया क्या है. डू दे ऑल्सो वांट पीस टू प्रिवेल इन द वर्ल्ड? डू दे ऑल्सो वांट हैप्पीनेस एंड वेलफेयर ऑफ ऑल द पीपल? इफ yes, then you should respect it. So instead of focusing on rituals and practices and everything of another's religion, you should always focus on the main idea of that religion and respect it. Okay, very important line said by Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru, who was the first Prime Minister of India. He wrote that his edicts, that means Ashoka's edicts, edicts means instructions, they still speak to us in a language we can understand and we can still learn much from them. Ashoka ने ये बात कब बोली थी? Back in those days of BCE period, right? That before Common Era period. It's such an old historical time period when he said so many things, when he made these edicts, when he instructed his subjects all these ideas. But these ideas are still relevant. We still need to learn from these ideas. We still need to focus on the message given by the Ashoka. That is why Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru said that his edicts are still a language which speak to us in the present day. We still need to learn from Ashoka's message. We still need a lot of learning from Ashoka's message. Ashoka ने इतने पहले बोला था that you should respect each other's religion, you should respect each other, you should never criticize another's religion by praising your one. You should never do that. And still in the modern age as well, in the 2022 era as well, you need to focus and you need to follow and understand the messages of Ashoka. Okay, out of context, here is Brahmi script. They have told you about Brahmi script. Most Indian scripts have developed from the Brahmi script. I have told you in earlier chapters that there is a difference between a script and language. Correct? We speak the language and we write the language with the help of a script. लिखने का क्या तरीका होगा? That is known as script. So you write Hindi language. You write Hindi language in Devanagari script. You write English language in Roman script. Okay, so script is the way of writing and language is the words you use. Okay, and most of the Indian scripts have developed from the Brahmi script over hundreds of years. Here you can see a letter A written in different scripts. A letter को देखो कितनी तरीके से लिखा है. Early Brahmi used to write the letter A like this. Devanagari, that means the Hindi. A, right? We write A like this. Bengali used to write A like this. Malayalam used to write A like this. Tamil used to write A like this. So there is a similarity in the symbol and the script of different languages, right? This somewhere resembles this, correct? This somewhere, not completely, but somewhere resembles each other's symbol. So basically there is a similarity between all these scripts, and that is how we know that all the scripts, the early Brahmi, Devanagari, Bengali, Malayalam, Tamil, all these scripts have emerged from the Brahmi script only. Okay, so Brahmi is the main head script and they all have emerged out of the Brahmi script. Okay, Okay, now let's do the story of elsewhere as we do in every chapter. And today we're going to read about China. ठीक है? Chapter का नाम क्या है? Ashoka the emperor who gave up war. So we are reading about one of the very mightiest. We read about the mightiest king of Indian history, Ashoka. Ancient history के सबसे important king के बारे में हमने पढ़ा. और अब हम ऐसे ही एक emperor या कुछ emperors के बारे में पढ़ेंगे जिन्होंने चाइना में बहुत अच्छा काम किया. ठीक है? First, let's look at where is China.
So this is your Earth, this is your country India, and to know China, we'll zoom in. And to the north of India is China. The red dot has been pointed here because here is the capital of China. Okay, we always mark country, we always symbolize any country with its capital, and that is why this red dot is here. Otherwise, this entire region, जहाँ मेरा cursor घूम रहा है, this entire region is China. Okay, China is a very big country. It's a very large country. This is China to the north of India. Okay.
So coming back to the story of elsewhere about China, somewhat before the time of the modern empire, about 2400 years ago, 2400 साल पहले चाइना के एम्परर्स ने दे स्टार्टेड बिल्डिंग द ग्रेट वॉल. दीवार बनाने लग गए बड़ी सी. उन्होंने लेबर लगाई और फटाफट लंबी दीवार खींचना शुरू हो गए. क्यों? Let's read about it. It was actually meant to protect the northern frontier of the empire from pastoral people, because चाइना के ऊपर के जितने भी कंट्रीज थे, they did not had grasslands. उतने ज़्यादा ग्रासलैंड नहीं थे उनके पास. ठीक है? इट वॉज अ कोल्ड रीजन. तो ऊपर की कंट्री के लोग चाइना की तरफ आते थे. pastoral people, especially the pastoral people used to come towards China. ठीक? इन्हीं pastoral people के साथ बहुत सारे enemies भी आ जाते थे and then they used to attack on the frontiers of China. ठीक है? तो लोगों को, अपनी कंट्री के लोगों को नदर्न फ्रंटियर को प्रोटेक्ट करने के लिए एक बड़ी सी वॉल बना दी गई. ओके, सो इफ दिस इज चाइना, तो ये पूरे नदर्न फ्रंटियर पे एक वॉल बना दी गई सो दैट enemy cannot come inside your empire and attack on you. Additions to the wall were made over a period of 2000 years because the frontiers of the empire kept shifting. एम्पायर कभी बड़ा हो रहा था और बड़ा हो रहा था, तो जो वॉल बनाई जा रही है वो भी एक्सपैंड करती चली जा रही थी. ओके, एडिशंस होते रहे वॉल में लगातार 2000 साल तक. 2000 साल तक एडिशंस होते रहे वॉल में, तभी तो वो इतनी बड़ी वॉल बन गई. ग्रेट वॉल ऑफ चाइना बन गया. द वॉल इज अबाउट 6400 किलोमीटर्स लॉन्ग. इतनी बड़ी वॉल है. एंड इट इज मेड ऑफ स्टोन एंड ब्रिक विद अ रोड along the top. Several thousand people worked to build the wall. अब जाहिर सी बात है, इतनी किलोमीटर्स की अगर वॉल होगी तो फिर बहुत सारे लोग लगे होंगे बनाने के लिए. ठीक है? There are watch towers all along at distances of 100 to 200 meters. So for example, if this is the Great Wall of China, which is 6400 kilometers long, हर कुछ 100-200 मीटर पे वॉच टावर बने हुए हैं. वॉच टावर पे इनका एक सोल्जर बैठता है, वॉच रखता है कि अगर कोई एनिमी आ रहा है या कोई भी ऐसे लोग आ रहे हैं who should not enter the empire, तो ये सोल्जर अपने किंग को इन्फॉर्म कर देता था कि एम्परर साहब कोई एनिमी आ रहा है, and then the army used to get ready for the attack or maybe to fight. Okay? तो हर 100-200 मीटर पे एक वॉच टावर्स भी लगा रखे थे एम्परर्स ने उस टाइम पे. अभी भी हैं वो वॉच टावर्स. हालांकि वो वॉच टावर्स बेसिकली इसीलिए लगाए गए थे सो दैट अगर कोई एनिमी या अनवांटेड पार्टी चाइना में एंटर करने की कोशिश करे तो उसे रोका जा सके. ओके, सो दिस वाज द स्टोरी ऑफ ग्रेट वॉल ऑफ चाइना. एंड दिस इज वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट टू नो, क्योंकि जैसे हमारे कंट्री के लोगों ने, हमारे कंट्री के किंग्स ने स्पेशली बड़े बड़े फोर्टिफिकेशन करवाए, अपने फोर्ट्स बनवाए बड़े बड़े, वैसे ही चाइना के एम्परर्स ने भी इतना ही इम्पोर्टेंट काम किया था अपने फ्रंटियर्स को प्रोटेक्ट करने के लिए. हालांकि एक बहुत ज़्यादा
डिफरेंशिएटिंग बात है अशोका और चाइना के एम्परर्स में। अशोका ने अपने लोगों को बाहर भेजा था, मैंने भी चैप्टर में भी बताया आपको। अशोका सेंट हिज नॉट डिसाइपल्स बट वन ऑफ द पीपल ऑफ द कोर्ट टू डिफरेंट कंट्रीज टू propound द आइडिया ऑफ बुद्धिज्म। वो दूसरी कंट्रीज में अपने लोगों को भेज रहा है दोस्ती बढ़ाने के लिए, बुद्धिज्म को propound करने के लिए, और यहाँ पर के जो एम्परर्स हैं वो बाहर के लोगों को आने से रोक रहे हैं। तो दोनों किंग्स में थोड़ा फर्क तो है ना? And on the basis of this, here's a question for you, that in what ways do you think Ashoka's attitude toward neighboring people was different from that of the Chinese emperors? ऐसा क्यों लगता है आपको? या कौन कौन से तरीके हैं जिससे you can state that Ashoka's attitude towards the neighboring people was very different from Chinese emperor? Ashoka's attitude towards the neighboring people was totally different from the contemporary Chinese emperors. Contemporary मतलब उसके साथ के जो लोग थे। अशोका अगर इंडिया में रूल कर रहा था तो उसके साथ सेम पीरियड, सेम हिस्टोरिकल पीरियड में चाइना के जो एम्परर्स थे वो बिल्कुल डिफरेंट थे। क्यों? फॉर एग्जाम्पल, द चाइनीज एम्परर कंस्ट्रक्टेड वॉल to protect the northern frontiers of the empire from the pastoral people, whereas Ashoka expanded his empire of Dhamma by sending officials to spread the message of non-violence. अशोका अपने लोगों को दूसरी कंट्रीज में भेज रहा है सो दैट धम्म का आइडिया और ज्यादा फेमस हो सके। दिस एग्जाम्पल प्रेजेंट्स द ओपन माइंडेडनेस ऑफ अशोका। अशोका को कोई डर नहीं था, वो ओपन माइंडेड था। दैट वर्ड इज आवर फैमिली, ये कुटुंब है, it's a family and everyone should gather together to know about the good ideas, about good religion and virtues. Okay? और वहीं Chinese emperor, they are trying to protect themselves from any foreign person, not even enemy. Enemy को तो चलो आप रोकोगे, किसी pastoral को भी नहीं आने देना चाहते हैं वो, ठीक है? So this shows कि वो कितने narrow और कितने preserved और कितने concentrated रहना चाहते थे। वहीं अशोका कितने open mindedness के साथ काम करते थे, ठीक है?
Coming on to the keywords associated with the chapter we read, first is empire, then capital, province, dhamma, messenger, the Mahamata he sent, and the official. Okay, here is one important date also. The beginning of the modern empire started more than 2,300 years ago. Okay, 2,300 years ago, or you can say 2,300 years ago, modern empire began establishing in country. Acha, this is an approximate date. Okay, we do not have any hard and fast fixed date in history. We never have fixed dates in history until and unless there is any proof. Until and unless there is any proof or inscription on manuscript, we always have an approximate idea of the date. Okay, so approximate date or year when modern empire established was 2,300 years ago. Okay, so with the end of the chapter, let's recall the chapter with the help of some exercises. So here is the first question. Make a list of the occupation of the people who lived within the modern empire. Okay, so we have to tell various occupation of the people who used to live within the modern empire, not in the same palace, but in the empire. That means all the places which were ruled by the modern kings. We have to tell the occupation of the people occupation of all the people who lived in the modern empire. Okay, so the list of occupation of the people who lived within the modern empire are as follows, or were as follows. First is trade or commerce. A large group of population was involved in trade or commerce. Basically, there were a number of people who were merchants. Okay. Second, people were there who had jobs with the emperor. That means they worked inside the palace or something associated with the emperor. Maybe collecting the taxes, maybe being a spy, maybe being the food instructor, maybe being the army person or anything, any job with the emperor. Third occupation that people had within the modern empire was craft. They were craftsmen. Fourth was agriculture. A huge bunch of people was involved in the practice of agriculture. Fifth occupation that people had was animal rearing. Sixth, forest produce or gathering. That means hunter gatherers. Seventh is hunting animals for food. And eighth is fishing. All these 8 jobs were the most common occupations of the people who lived within the modern empire? Because these were the occupations which were charged or taxed by the modern kings, I mean. Next exercise, question number 2, complete the following sentences. Very simple, it's basically like fill in the blanks. These are statements from the chapter you have read. You just have to fill the appropriate word. Officials collected dash from the area under the direct control of the ruler. Officials क्या collect करते थे area से? We read this in the chapter. If you want, you can pause and go back to the chapter. They collected taxes from the area under the direct control of the ruler. Okay. Question number 2. Royal princes often went to the provinces as dash, as governors. They were appointed as governors to the provinces. Question number C. Modern rulers tried to control dash and dash which were important for transport. Transport के लिए important था and they controlled these two things. What were these? Roads and rivers. Last question. People in forested, last fill in the blank, okay? People in forested regions provided the Mauryan officials with dash. जो forest के लोग होते थे वो officials को क्या देते थे? They were provided with elephants, timber, honey and wax. Because I told you in the chapter also that everybody was taxed. कुछ लोग मनी देते थे तो कुछ लोग अपना प्रोड्यूस देते थे. Whatever they had, they used to give them as tax. Forest के लोग मनी तो नहीं दे सकते. They do not have enough money, right, to give to the king. So instead of money or instead of any produce, they used to give elephants for army. They used to give timber, honey and wax to the officials. Okay. Now you will ask that, ma'am, Arthashastra was written by Chanakya. It was Chanakya's ideas in Arthashastra. But please let me tell you, Chandragupta is the king. Whatsoever book will be written on the order of the king. So basically, Chanakya, being the minister, being the favorite minister of this king, helped to write down Arthashastra. He helped to write down the Arthashastra. He helped to give the ideas. But the whole idea of creating a book known as Arthashastra was Chandragupta's ideas, right? Book always belonged to the king, right? So that is why Chandragupta's ideas were written down in the Arthashastra, and it is a true statement. Coming on to question number C, Kalinga was the ancient name of Bengal. Was Kaling was the ancient name of Bengal? Was Bengal known as Kaling? False. It was Odisha, which is basically the modern times Odisha was Kaling in the ancient time. Okay. Statement number D. Most Ashokan inscriptions are in Brahmi script. Was it in Brahmi script? And I'm talking about script, not language. There is a difference between language and script. I'm not talking about language. I'm asking, most Ashokan inscriptions are in Brahmi script or not? True or false? True. Most of the inscriptions were in Brahmi script. Alright, question number 4. What were the problems that Ashoka wanted to solve by introducing Dhamma? He introduced some virtues because he thought that there were some problems in the society. कोई problem थी तभी तो उसको solve करने के लिए he introduced a new concept. So what were the problems that he wanted to solve by introducing the Dhamma? So the answer is here. The problems Ashoka wanted to solve by introducing Dhamma were: first, he wanted to solve the problem of communalism. He wanted communal harmony within his state. There are so many different beliefs, different virtues, different rituals, different practices, different beliefs. There is so much communalism, but there are so many communities, but the communities should live peacefully, should respect each other's communal behavior and beliefs and culture, and that is why he wanted communal harmony within his state. Second problem he wanted to solve was violence or killing of animals. He wanted animal production or ahimsa or non-violence. Third point, cruelty. He liked mercy or kindness towards slaves and servants. Okay, he said, the discrimination you do against the slaves and servants, the bad treatment, the ill treatment you give to slaves and servants should be stopped. You should be kind enough towards slaves and servants. Fourth problem he wanted to solve was to maintain the peace in families and among neighbors. Because Ashoka witnessed that there is not peace in families, people fight a lot over small issues, over land disputes, over some other discomfort and rituals, and people should be peaceful among their families. People should be peaceful with their neighbors, and not only house neighbors, the national neighbors as well. ओके, एक कंट्री दूसरी कंट्री से लड़े जा रही है, एक स्टेट दूसरी स्टेट से लड़े जा रही है. देयर शुड बी peace among neighbors as well as families. Fifth point he wanted to resolve with the help of his Dhamma was respecting one's elders. You should respect your elders. Okay? If you do not like any of the words said by your elders, stay quiet. Stay quiet. Then later on, talk to them. मुझे आपकी ये बात अच्छी नहीं लगी. I did not like this thing of yours. उसी समय लड़ने मत लग जाओ. Okay? Do not disobey or disrespect your elders. Always respect your elders. Always obey your elders. If sometime you do not like any of their words, be quiet at that point of time, and then later on go to your elder, talk to them. Okay? Sixth point Ashoka wanted to resolve with the help of his Dhamma was treating all creatures with compassion. You have to treat all the creatures, be it human beings, animal, birds, plants, everything. You have to treat everyone with compassion. You have to think about everyone's welfare, everyone's sustainability, everywhere. Okay? You have to think about everyone with compassion. You cannot be mean enough कि मेरा काम हो गया मैं जा रहा. You shouldn't be like that. If you eat a packet of chips, you should throw that packet in a dustbin. Okay? If you can plant a sapling, you should plant a sapling. If you can water your plants, you should water your plants. If you can switch off the light whenever it's not in use, you should switch off the light whenever it's not in use. If you see any leak tap, you should close it. Okay? You should do everything with compassion. You should think about nature. You should think about animal. If you see any animal suffering from severe cold, then you should give that animal a blanket or anything if possible. If there is any animal at your door who is thirsty or hungry, you should give them water or food if possible. So you should treat all the creatures with compassion. Okay. Seventh problem which Ashoka wanted to resolve: giving gifts to Brahmins and monks. You should give gifts to Brahmins and monks because they are the one who is working for the religious betterment and religious awakening in the society. Okay, in today's world, I'm not saying that you should give gifts to Brahmins or monks. This is the idea Ashok wanted to resolve. Okay, now time has changed, age has changed, but in that period of time when Ashoka proposed his idea of Dhamma, at that point of time, giving gifts to Brahmins and monks was considered as a very laudable factor because these people were the ones who basically uplifted the idea of religion, peace, prosperity. Okay. Eighth problem: show respect to other religions too. You should respect other religions too. आप अपनी religion को praise करिए, good, but you should not criticize the other religion. You should understand the main idea of that religion, and you should never disrespect others' religion. You should respect all the religion. And ninth point he wanted to resolve was try to understand the main ideas of other religions. Okay? What is the main concept of the other's religion? Is it provoking peace? Is it teaching about prosperity? Is it teaching about welfare? Is it teaching about humanity? If it is teaching so, you should respect other religion too. Okay? You should not neglect or reject others' religion. You should respect other religion and you should understand the main idea of others' religion. Okay? So these were the problems which Ashoka wanted to solve, and that is why he introduced his Dhamma. Alright, question number 5. What were the means adopted by Ashoka to spread the message of Dhamma? What means did he adopt? क्या क्या means adopt करे थे so that he can spread his message to Dhamma? We read this in the chapter also. Ashoka appointed officials और उन officials को हम लोग क्या कहते थे? धम्म महामात्र. He appointed officials known as Dhamma Mahamata to go from place to place and tell people about Dhamma. Right? He appointed officials so that officials can go from place to place and that they can propagate the idea of Dhamma. Ashoka got his messages inscribed on rocks and pillars too, in a language called as Prakrit, which was comprehensible to all. उसने first thing he did was इसने official appoint करे so that they can go from place to place and propagate the message of Dhamma. Second thing he did was he inscribed his message of Dhamma on rocks and pillars so that people can come and go to and fro. They can read those from those pillars. Okay. And he inscribed using the Prakrit language, which was a common language, which was an ordinary man's language, so that people can easily read this language, right? Messengers were also sent to other parts of the world as well to spread the message of Dhamma. So these were the three major means he adopted to spread his message of Dhamma. Coming on to question number 6. Why do you think slaves and servants were ill-treated? So first part of the question says that why do you think slaves and servants were ill-treated? Second part of the question says, do you think the orders of the emperor would have improved their condition? First part में ये पूछा गया है कि slaves and servants ill-treated क्यों थे? Why do you think so? Second part is asking that the orders which were given by the emperor might have improved their condition. Do you agree with this or not? If you say yes, then you have to give reason. If you say no, then also you have to give reason. So the first part of the answer should be answered in similar manner like that I think that slaves and servants were ill treated because no political authority or socio-economic organization had favored proper treatment for slaves and servants. There was no political authority who was looking after the slaves and the servants. There was no socio-economic organization which were looking for the betterment and proper treatment for slaves and servants, and maybe that is why these people were ill-treated. They were supposed to do all manual and hard work, but they were not allowed to participate in some rituals and not permitted to recite or read the Vedas or for taking education, right? These privileges or basically these rights were not given to these slaves and the servants. And maybe because of these conditions in the society made them ill-treated in the social structure. Second part of the answer says that do you think the orders of the emperor would have improved? Yes. I think the order of the emperor would have improved condition of slaves and servants. क्योंकि अगर emperor order देता for the welfare and betterment or for the proper treatment of slave and servants, then maybe the conditions of slave and servant might have been improved. We can give the following reasons for this that the slaves and servants would have got proper wages and better treatment if the emperor would have given any order on this. Their duty hours and working conditions would have improved if the king have given any orders on this. So the emperor's order would have had a better impact or may have had an improved condition for slaves and servants. Right? So these are the reasons. You can add more reasons towards it also that from the order of the king or the emperor, they might have got their fundamental rights so as to receive education, so as to read and recite the Vedas, etc. They might have got some basic rights as other people in the society if the emperor would have given any order also. Now you have to think about more such conditions in which the order of the emperor might have improved the condition of slaves and servants. Okay? Do answer if you think of any other reason.
Coming on to a very interesting topic, looking ahead. अच्छा ये आज तक हम लोगों ने किसी चैप्टर में नहीं किया है, I know that. And this is the first chapter we are doing it because now is the correct time to tell you guys that how many empires dynasties were there. Because you will get very confused at the end of the day कि कितनी सारी dynasties थी, right? We read about the Harappan civilization, then we read about the Vedic and later Vedic period, in which we read about the Mahajanpadas, and then we read about the Vajjis, the Magad period, right? Then we read about this Mauryan Empire, very slight information about the Mauryan Empire. How long will it go? And how much depth does it has? How many dynasties will come one after the other, or maybe existing at the same point of time? We really need to know this, right? आपके दिमाग में there has to be a clear idea that how many dynasties ruled your country. You should know this, that how many dynasties were there which ruled over our homeland. Okay? Acha, now I would suggest quickly grab a pen and a paper because we need to write right now. So when I will say something to write, only then you will write. Otherwise, please focus on this lecture. Okay. The Mauryan Empire collapsed about 2200 years ago. This is a fact I am telling you. That Mauryan Empire collapsed around 2200 years ago. In its place and elsewhere also rose several new kingdoms. क्योंकि जब Mauryan collapse हुआ होगा, Mauryan Empire finished, that means there must be one king which must have lost one battle or got very weak to rule. Then the empire collapsed. And when it collapsed, a new kingdom must have arose. क्योंकि एक king जाता है दूसरा आता है, right? And this is the criteria of history that one dynasty goes and the other dynasty comes up to rule. So when Mauryan Empire collapsed around 2200 years ago, it paved the way around 2200 years ago. It paved the way for other dynasties to rule and other rulers to come in its place, right? In the northwest and in parts of North India, kings known as Indo-Greeks ruled for about 100 years. So the first point you have to write, put number 1, let me just erase and these. I just erased all the other rings so that you can write your notes properly. So write first number, Mauryan Empire. Write like this, okay? Point number 2, write Indo-Greeks, right? Indo-Greeks, right like this, okay? Now telling you about Indo-Greeks. हम इन्हें Indo-Greeks क्यों कह रहे हैं? Because they were Greek people who ruled over some parts of Indian subcontinent. There were various Indian people as well who helped these Greek people, or basically formed a family along with these Greek people and then ruled over a part of Indian subcontinent. That is why they are known as Indo-Greeks, because among these rulers, few were Indian, few were Greeks. Okay? They were followed by Central Asian people known as Shakas. Shakas भी बोलते हैं ना, शाक भी बोलते हैं या शक भी बोलते हैं. They were followed by Central Asian people known as Shak or Shakas, who set up kingdoms in North and Western India. So write number 3, Shakas. Where did they rule? Northwest, if this is India. If this is India, so northwest, north and the western portion of Gujarat. Shak ruled this area. Okay? Some of these kingdoms lasted for about 500 years till the Shakas were defeated by Gupta kings. Shakas इतने strong थे because they were ruling the north and western region. So few of the kingdom, this entire was an empire, but few of the kingdom lasted about 500 years. And few of the kingdoms of the Shakas were defeated by Gupta. All the kingdoms of Shakas did not collapse at once. Few collapsed earlier, few collapsed later. Few kingdoms ruled over 500 years and were defeated by Gupta kings finally. Okay. The Shakas in turn were followed by Kushans and they ruled about 2000 years ago. So write number 4, Kushans. Now you will say, And why haven't you asked to write Guptas? They will come later. Okay. After Shakas, the immediate next ruler was Kushan. Okay. In the north and in parts of central India, a general of the Mauryas named Pushyamitra Shunga set up a kingdom. Now here is a turn. So the twist is that when Mauryan collapsed 2200 years ago, almost before this, there was one general of the general means who serve in the army. So there was a general in the Mauryas, and his name was Pushyamitra Shunga. And leaving the Mauryan Empire after the Mauryas collapsed, leaving the Mauryan Empire, he set up a new kingdom of his own, the Shungas. He named his kingdom as Shungas. So write number 5, Shungas. Okay? The Shungas were followed by another dynasty known as Kanvas. Write number 6, Kanvas. And by rulers from other families till the establishment of the Gupta Empire. So write number 7, Gupta Empire, about 1700 years ago. The Shakas, here the Shakas which you read about, the Shakas, the Central Asian people, they were the Central Asian people who ruled the northwest, north and western India. The Shakas who ruled over the parts of western India वाले जो Shakas थे, they fought several battles with the Satavahanas. So write number 8, Satavahanas, who ruled over western and parts of central India. Satvahana kingdom, which was established about 2100 years ago, lasted for about 400 years. Around 1700 years ago, a new ruling family known as the Vakatakas became powerful in central and western India. So write number 9, Vakatakas. Then in South India, Chola, Chera, Pandya. They ruled between 2200 and 1800 years ago. And about 1500 years ago, there were two large kingdoms in the south known as Pallavas and Chalukyas. There were several other kingdoms and kings as well. We know about them from their coins and inscription as well as from books. Here is a Shaka coin. Here you saw the Indo-Greek coin. Here is a Kushan coin. Okay. Now after writing almost 9 North Indian kingdoms and then 5 South Indian kingdoms, you must have been very confused कि मैम कितने kingdom हैं, what is the time period, because everyone is coming 2100 years ago, 2000 years ago, 1500 years ago, 1700 years ago. You might be very confused, right? So I have solved your problem. Here I have written everything for you. Okay? Now you will say, जब आपने खुद ही लिख लिया था, then why did you ask us? Because I want you to read along with me. It should not like कि मैं बस lecture देती जा रही हूँ and you just listening and just fidgeting around. No, you should participate with the reading as well. That is why I made you write all those names. Now coming on to time period. Children, please remember, you don't have to mug up these years. You do not have to mug up these years. You just have to keep an idea that who came after whom. Okay? What is the chronology? You just have to remember the chronology. Alright, so starting with the Mauryas. Number 1, you wrote Mauryas. You can write the time period from here. And if you can calculate, this is exactly 2200 years ago. After the Mauryas came the Indo-Greek. I showed you the map of Mauryas, that what was the region ruled by Mauryas. I will show you again. This is the ruling area of Maurya. This actually was the area which Maurya ruled over. अब आपको लगेगा कि now Mauryas are carrying control over the entire India and most portions of the northwestern Indian subcontinent also. वैसे तो ये लोग पूरी इंडिया पे रूल कर रहे थे. Yes, there was a time when Maurya Empire had a control on almost the entire land of Indian subcontinent. I mean, this Indian country land and the northwestern part of the Indian subcontinent. Okay, but this is actually the period when Maurya Empire was at its zenith, at its maximum. So, after a period of time, their rule, their ruling area declined. It did decline, okay? ऐसा नहीं कि हमेशा ही पूरी इंडिया पे रूल कर रहे थे. No, there was a time when they were ruling over the entire piece of land, but over time it reduced. The ruling area definitely reduced. So that was the area ruled by Mauryas. Now coming on to Indo-Greek. Indo-Greek ruled from 200 BCE to 10 CE, not BCE. And we are going backwards because we are going from BCE to CE. We are going from 1st century to 1st century BCE, sorry, 2nd century BCE, second century BCE to 1st century CE. That is why we are writing like this. Third is the Shakas, 150 to 400. 150 BCE to 400 CE. Okay. So from here you can see Shakas started their rule in 150 BCE. So they started their rule in 150 BCE and ended their rule in the AD period. Started in BCE period, ended in CE period. Okay. They ruled for so long. Also, you can see from here that Shakas and Indo-Greeks are contemporary. They are contemporary. How? Because while Indo-Greek ruled from 200 BCE to 10 CE, there must be a year in between 150 BCE. Right? And I told you BCE में उल्टा डेट चलता है 200, 199, 198, 197 ऐसे करते करते there must be a time period when it must be 150 BCE. Right? So Indo-Greek and Shakas were contemporary. Another contemporary dynasty during the Indo-Greek and Shakas was Shunga dynasty. Okay, Shunga dynasty. It ruled from 184 BCE to 75 BCE. They ruled for a very small period of time. इनका BCE में रेंज शुरू हुआ था. It ended in BCE only. ये CE तक गए नहीं. ये AD period में आए ही नहीं. Okay, they started in 184 BCE, ended in 75 BCE. They were also contemporary to Indo-Greek and Shakas. Okay. Another dynasty which was contemporary to Indo-Greek and Shakas was Kanva. Kanva dynasty. Okay. Kanva's rule started from 73 BCE to 28 BCE. ये लोग भी शुंगास की तरह हैं. They started in BCE, ended in BCE. But Kanvas came after Shunga. Because Shunga ended in 75 and Kanva started in 73, right? 75, 74 and then 73 because we are talking about the BCE period. That is why we are going in reverse order 75, 74, 73. So Shunga ended in 75 BCE and Kanva started in 73 BCE. So Shunga and Kanva were not contemporary, but Shunga and Kanva were contemporary to Indo-Greek and Shakas. Okay, so you have found 4 such dynasty which were contemporary to each other along with the Mauryas. So Mauryas number 1, Indo-Greek number 2, Shakas number 3, Shunga number 4, Kanva number 5. These dynasty were contemporary to each other. Okay. These dynasties were contemporary to each other. Okay. Acha children, very important point to remember that all these dynasties ruled different area, more or less different area. Okay. सब लोग एक ही रीजन पे आके रूल नहीं कर रहे थे कि इंडिया का अगर ये एक पार्ट है एंड एवरीबडी वाज रूलिंग दिस एरिया. नो, Mauryas was ruling some other area, Indo-Greek were ruling some other area, Shakas had their control in some other area, Shunga had their control in some other area, Kanva had their control in some other area. Sometimes the area overlapped each other. Sometimes the area overlapped each other. For example, if the Mauryas were ruling this triangle, I am marking. If the Mauryas were ruling this triangle, Shakas were also ruling very near to it. Area very near to it. Okay. So sometimes the area overlapped. Sometimes the area overlapped. But overall, they ruled different area of the Indian subcontinent. These 5 dynasties were contemporary to each other. Shunga and Kanva are not contemporary to each other, okay? Shunga and Kanva are not contemporary to each other, but all 5 altogether are contemporary to each other and they rule different area. Sometimes their area overlapped, okay? Now we will talk about another very important dynasty which was contemporary to Indo-Greek and Shakas, and it was Satavahanas. Satavahanas were very great rulers, also known as Andhras. They were very powerful. They are the one who took over Chola Chera Pandya region. Okay, जब चोला चेरा पांड्या का region, जब इनका reign flop हो गया, when they collapsed, it was Satavahanas afterwards who took over the entire southern region, except for few areas of Tamil Nadu. Tamil Nadu के कुछ area में rule नहीं करते थे. तमिलनाडु में रूल नहीं करते थे, but the other area of South India was majorly under the control of Satavahanas. They were also known as the Lord of Dakshin Path. Dakshin Path. Satavahanas were known as the Lord of Dakshin Path. अब ये Dakshin Path क्या होता है? Dakshin Path means the route to south. The route to south. So another dynasty which was contemporary to these Indo-Greeks and Shakas ruled over the South Indian kingdom and were known as the Lord of Dakshin Path was Satavahanas. They ruled from 2nd century BCE, that means from 199 BCE to 3rd century CE. They are also the ones जिन्होंने BCE में शुरू किया and ended in CE. Okay, just like the Indo-Greeks and Shakas. Indo-Greeks also started in BCE, ended in CE. Shakas also started in BCE, ended in CE. Okay, now I will remove some ink so that it will be very clear for you. Very gauzy. The slide has gone very gauzy. Okay, so major point to remember till now is Mauryas, Indo-Greek, Shakas, Shungas, Kanvas. They were almost contemporary to each other, ruled different area of the Indian subcontinent, majorly the north and northwestern part of the Indian subcontinent. And there was another South Indian kingdom known as Satavahanas, which ruled almost in the same period of time. Okay. Now, apart from all these dynasties, there are few other dynasties which ruled in the AD period, or you can say CE period. We'll read about them. Another important dynasty is of Kushans. They ruled from 30 to 375 CE. So basically, they ruled for more than 400 years. Okay. So Kushans was another important dynasty. After Kushans, the important dynasty came was Gupta. Okay. I told you that after Kushans, the Shaks were followed by Kushans, and then came the Shunga dynasty, and then came the Kanvas and Gupta dynasty about 1700 years ago, right? Alright, so after Guptas ruled from 4th century CE to 6th century CE, okay, nearly 200 years. That is why they were so great, powerful, valorous, and glorified kingdom of the Indian subcontinent. They are known as the golden kings of India only because they ruled for such a long period of time, captured or annexed almost the majority of the Indian subcontinent and glorified the beauty of India. That is why they are known as the golden kingdom of India. Okay. Guptas ruled from 4th century CE to 6th century CE. And then there was another important dynasty known as the Vakataka, which ruled the area of Deccan, majorly Deccan. Also extended their control in Gujarat, the Malwa region, till Tungabhadra region, till the river Tungabhadra region. Okay. Vakataka, they ruled from 250 CE to 500 CE. So basically they ruled for nearly 250 years. Okay. Then there is very important South Indian kingdom known as the Sangam period kingdom. They are the main families of South Indian kingdom, Chola, Chera, Pandya. They were the greatest combination of South Indian kingdoms in the Indian history, in the ancient Indian history. Chola, Chera, Pandya almost never lost control of their territory. They shrink kar gaye the, but they never died. Okay, nobody was able to conquer over Chola Chera Pandya, but later on various weak rulers came in and then Chola Chera Pandya collapsed. But for various centuries, Chola Chera Pandya were the most powerful South Indian kingdoms of the ancient history. Chola Chera Pandya combined ruled about 2200 years ago to 1800 years ago, okay, which is nearly 400 years. So basically, Chola Chera Pandya altogether ruled the south region of the Indian subcontinent for almost 400 years. Okay, that is why they are known as the chief families of the South India. There were another South Indian kingdoms also very prominent, but came later. They were the Chalukyas and Pallavas. They were also very valorous, took control over a lot of region of South India, contained the area of Andhra and Karnataka as well, the present day Karnataka as well. They were the Chalukyas and Pallavas, ruled 1500 years ago. Okay. So the North Indian kingdoms I told you, Maurya, Indo-Greek, Shaka, Kushans, Shunga, Kanva, Gupta. South Indian kingdoms, Satavahanas. Vakataka was basically Western and South Indian, you can say. Not completely South Indian, but Western and mid-Deccan. Satavahanas, Vakataka, most famous were the Chola, Chera and Pandya, and later on came the Chalukyas and Pallavas. So these are the major dynasties you should know which ruled over the ancient Indian subcontinent. आपको इनके सारे किंग्स का नाम रटना नहीं है. You don't have to mug up the names of the kings. You don't have to mug up the period. But you should know who ruled the ancient Indian subcontinent. You should know their names. अगर आपके सामने कोई बोले कि Shunga kings were very valorous, so you should know that who were Shungas. There were somebody known as Shunga which ruled over the Indian subcontinent. Okay, you should know which area Gupta period annexed and captured and took control of in the Indian subcontinent. You should know who was known as the Andhras, the great Andhras. You should know that who was known as the Lord of Dakshin Patha. You should know that which were the major families of the South Indian kingdom, Chola, Chera, Pandya. Okay, you should know all these small detail of ancient India because it is your country and it is your responsibility that you should know about your country to a very little extent. मैं ये नहीं कह रही हूँ सब कुछ याद कर लो रट लो एकदम अच्छे से. No, don't ratify the dates, but at least you should know the names of the most important kingdoms which ruled over the Indian subcontinent. And let me tell you, there are more kingdoms. ये तो बहुत छोटी सी लिस्ट है. This is a very small list I have given you. This is a very small summary I have created for you. There are more kingdoms which ruled in the ancient India. But the names I have given here, they are the most important one. Okay, they were the most powerful, glorified, having a good reach in the history. That is why I have named all these kingdoms. There were more than these, but only these names are important for you. That is why I have given them. Okay. So now I think it must be very clear that Mauryan Empire collapsed 2200 years ago. Then somewhere in the same period, Indo-Greeks also emerged. They were followed by the Central Asian people, the Shakas. Where did Shakas rule? The northwestern region, the north region, and a slight bit of western India also. Then came the Kushans, because Shakas in turn were followed by Kushans. So after Shakas came Kushans, about 2000 years ago. Then in the same period of time, in the central India came the Shunga dynasty, which was set up by a general of the Mauryas known as Pushyamitra Shunga. Okay, in the central India, along with Kushans. Kushans to north में थे, north and northwest. Along with Kushans, contemporary to Kushans came the Shunga dynasty. Shungas were followed by the Kanva dynasty, and then later a large empire of Gupta emerged. Then after Shakas, Satavahanas took control in the southern region, the western parts in central India also, known as the Andhras. Then came the Vakatakas, which took control in the central India and western India. And then I told you the most famous family of South Indian kingdom, the three chief kingdoms of South India, Chola, Chera, Pandya. Okay. And after that, two more names are also important of South Indian kingdom, Pallavas and Chalukyas, which ruled 1500 years ago. As I told you, there were several other kingdoms and kings as well, We know about them from their coins and inscription as well as from books. हमें kings के बारे में कैसे पता चलता है? Through the coins they have issued. This is a Shak coin. This is a coin issued by the Indo-Greek rulers. This is a coin issued by the Kushans. So we know about the kings through coins, through books, through inscriptions, through the architecture, through any sculptures being made on their information. All these evidences only give us the information about the kings of the past. Okay. So with this, I think I can tell you the vast region of India ruled by various rulers. Here is a small map, a glimpse of map given, showing important trade routes including the Silk Route. Now what is Silk Route? In short, I will explain you because Silk Route will be covered in the upcoming chapters also. So in short, I will tell you that Silk Route was basically a route of countries from where the silk traders traded silk. Silk was invented in China, and because they invented it, the traders in China wanted to sell it to other parts of the country, to other parts of the subcontinent and other parts of the world as well. So the track they followed, the track these traders followed to sell their silk, later came to be known as the Silk Route. वो जिस country में गए, उस country को Silk Route का एक part बना दिया गया. All right. So this was the Silk Route. And now we have done the looking ahead heading also.
With this, we come to the end of chapter 7. Happy learning, revise well. We'll see you in the next one.